Hey everyone, this is Robin Hurlow here. I'm a yoga instructor at Parliament Street Fitness. We're going to go through a little 30-minute practice today. And today I thought we'd actually keep it pretty basic. We're going to go through a lot of mobility work and just try and kind of work our way through the whole body. So if you've been finding that you're a little bit more sedentary lately or just not having the opportunity to move as much, this is a great little 30-minute piece that you can do almost daily just to kind of help you keep that sense of openness and range of movement and hopefully feeling good in your bodies. As we go, just a reminder, I can't see you today, unfortunately. So if you need to modify, if something doesn't feel great, please make sure that you take care of yourself as you're practicing. And you can always feel free to take a pause or kind of linger longer with something if it feels good. And that's about it. So you don't really need anything. If you have a mat, that's great. Just make sure you have a space you can spread out in. And then we're going to start resting on the floor. So take a moment to get yourself set up lying on your back, and you might want to have a little something under your head. You don't need it, whatever you're comfortable with. And just take a moment to come down to resting. Just figure out where you want to rest your arms, where you want to rest your legs. You might choose to keep the knees bent and the feet on the floor, or you might feel more comfortable straightening the legs out on the ground. Let's just take a moment here just to kind of land. So you don't have to do anything in particular. Just starting to feel your body on the ground. Where do you feel those points of contact with the floor underneath you? And can you invite a little bit of a softening or a resting back into that support? And then just taking a moment or two to connect to your breathing. And you don't need to change the breath in any way. You don't need to manipulate it, but just starting to feel your breath as it is. If it's useful, you might place a hand on the abdomen, or you might just kind of check in and notice, where do you feel any movement of the breath in your body? Maybe noticing the feeling of the in-breath and also the out-breath. And if it's comfortable for you, breathing through the nose. If that's not comfortable or it's not available today, just breathing in whatever way works best for you. Just taking 2 or 3 more breaths here, just again letting the body land. Feeling that steady, quiet rhythm of your breath. And then whenever you're ready, take a moment to bend your knees, place your feet on the ground, and then we'll just start by hugging the right knee in towards your chest. You can hug from the top of the kneecap or the back of the knee, but use your arms to pull the knee up towards you. And then we'll start to warm up from the bottom up. We're just going to begin to circle through the ankle, the foot, and the toes. Just kind of taking some nice big, slow circles, kind of seeing how that feels. Might be a little bit of clicking, that's totally normal, especially if you've been out and about a little bit less. And then circle the opposite way. And using this image, almost like your toes are tracing the face of a clock. Make that circle as big as you possibly can, waking up all those little muscles in the feet, or rather foot. And then from here, relaxing the foot, just let it dangle. The following movement, you can use your hands, or if you're more comfortable, you can release your arms down to the ground. We're just going to bend and straighten the knee a few times. So straightening the leg, reaching the heel up to the ceiling. Bending the knee, pulling my heel back down towards my right sit bone. And just exploring this a few times at your own pace. And again, just getting a little bit of movement into the knee joint, but also looking for a kind of gentle, active stretch through the back of that right leg. Breathing as you go. Last one or two, seeing if you can keep the neck and the jaw relaxed. This time as the leg comes up, find a position you can maintain for a moment, and again, just 2 or 3 circles maybe each way. Maybe feels a little different with the leg elevated here. Kind of feel it out. And then slowly release your right leg down. We'll repeat the same thing to the left side. So using your hands, draw your left knee up towards your chest, and then starting to circle through that left foot, toes, ankle. Just kind of seeing how that feels today, down through the left side. Can you make that circle as big as possible? Can you stay connected to your breath as we start to move? And then when you're ready, you might interlock your hands behind your left knee, or you might choose to release your arms to the ground as we straighten the leg, reaching the heel up to the ceiling. Bend the knee, lower the leg back down towards you. Let's just repeat that a few times at your own pace. And not pushing or forcing anything, just kind of feeling out where do you feel that active stretch, and can you maybe even pause there for a breath or two. Last one. As you straighten the leg up, maybe finding a place you can pause. If there's a lot of tension in the back of your leg, you might choose to keep the knee a little bit bent. And then again, a couple of nice juicy ankle circles. And the other way. Good. From here, release your left foot back down to the floor. Relax your arms down alongside your body. And we'll just come into a few rounds of pelvic rocks and little bridge pose, focusing on movement in the spine now. So feet are comfortably apart, heels line up with your sit bones. I'm going to press my feet into the floor and then start to curl my tail under towards the ceiling as I lift my hips off the ground. Lowering back down, landing my hips back on the floor. I'm going to do this a few times, just focusing on the pelvis and the kind of the butt lifting off the ground, really. So not lifting all the way up through the spine to begin. Just starting to feel that gentle movement through the hips. Again, really pressing the feet into the floor. Really kind of tucking the tail under, lengthening the low back. And maybe now starting to lift through the lower back, those first few vertebrae of the lumbar spine. As you round down, almost as though you could push your low back into the floor. Let's try that a couple more times at your own pace. And now you might choose to let that movement flow up through the spine, maybe to the bottom ribs, or for some of you, you might feel comfortable lifting up to the shoulder blades. But as you lift up, see if you can avoid popping your ribs up to the ceiling. So keep the bottom ribs soft, lift from your back body, and then peel back down. And just finding your own rhythm with this, maybe one more time, maybe 2 more times, depending on your pace. Nice fluid movement through every little nook and cranny of the spine. Breathing as you move. And then the next time you come down, let your spine land on the floor, let your hips land on the floor. Let's walk the feet a little wider than hip distance apart, so about as wide as your mat. Start to rock the thighs and the knees down to the right side, kind of like windshield wipers. Slowly pull them back up to center, rock the legs down to the left as far as you can, with whatever space you have. Back to center. Let's just do that 1 or 2 more times to each side, and just a reminder, only going as far as is comfortable for your low back. If you feel like you have a pretty wide range of movement here, you can go far into it, but almost thinking of pulling the knees down towards the floor, reaching into that stretch. From here, coming back to center, slowly let's find our way up onto all fours, onto hands and knees. So just take a moment to set yourself up. We're going to think of stacking our wrists underneath our shoulders, our knees underneath our hips, and then just taking a moment to wake up the wrists and the forearms a little bit. You're just going to start to circle your torso around your arms. So almost like your chest is kind of circling around the arms, around the wrists. I'm just feeling that hopefully kind of nice pressure down into the palms of the hands, the fingers, the thumbs. Circle the other direction. Kind of see how that feels. If it feels like a lot of pressure on the wrists, you're going to lean your weight back a little bit. For those of you who are at ease here, you can really load your body weight into your arms and your wrists, leaning your chest forward. From here, take a few rounds of cat-cow. So, starting to tuck the tail under, tailbone points down to the floor. Round your lower back, round your middle back and your rib cage. Let that wave up through the spine as you tuck your chin, look back to your thighs, and then reverse. Reach your tail up to the ceiling. Abdomen spills forward. Chest lifts in between your arms as we look gently up, arching the opposite way. Go ahead and flow through that a few times at your own pace, rounding the spine, pull back, and then extending the spine. Maybe just checking in with how that's feeling. Are there any areas that feel kind of really sticky or stuck? Is there a sense of fluidity through the spine today? Just kind of feeling out how the back is moving. Last one or two, feel free to kind of make it a little bit less linear if you want to wag the hips a bit side to side or kind of circle through the trunk. Definitely do that, no one's watching. And then from a neutral spine, let's find our way back to child's pose. So hips reach back towards heels, arms extend forward. Ideally the forehead is resting, so if your head doesn't come to the floor, go ahead and make a little cushion with your fists so you can let your neck relax. I'm going to lift my head just so you can hear me, but keeping your head down, resting into child's pose, and just seeing if you can come back to the feeling of breath in your belly, breath in the abdomen. Let's just take 3 or 4 breaths. As you inhale, abdomen expands, maybe pushes into your thighs gently. As you breathe out, abdomen softens. Let's take one more breath like that, gentle expansion of the belly. And inhale, softening. Slowly from here, come on back up onto your hands and your knees. Walk your hands a little bit forward of your shoulders, coming into a bit of a rocking horse movement. So we're going to reach the tail back towards the heels, almost like child's pose. And then swing the hips forward, coming into a kind of half plank position here, pushing the floor away. Rocking back and forth a few times, just starting to wake up the arms and the wrists a little bit more. Breathing as you go. As you come forward, see if you can avoid sinking your low back. So not a cobra here, but really kind of a half push-up position. So a little bit of bum squeeze to keep your hips in line with your spine. Last one. Settling yourself back into child's pose as you finish, taking a couple of full breaths there. From here, finding your way up to standing. So you might choose to come through downward facing dog, or you might just choose to slowly bring yourself up to stand, however it's most comfortable for you. Okay, so take a moment to find a nice upright standing position. We call this mountain pose. Feet comfortably apart. You can lift your toes, spread them out, bring them down. Just feeling that sense of connectedness to the floor underneath you. Gently roll your shoulders back and down a couple of times, just finding a nice broad, open chest. And then from here, following your breath, inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, lower the arms down. Let's just try that a few times at your own pace. Inhaling up, exhaling, lowering down. Reaching all the way out through the fingertips. Kind of seeing how that movement feels through your shoulders. Last one or two. This time as the arms come up, let's leave them up overhead. Pause for a moment, reaching up to the ceiling, lifting, lengthening, and then breathing out, lower the arms back down. From here, bringing your right arm up to shoulder height. We're going to reach that arm up to the ceiling. Just so you can see me, I'm going to kneel down, but you stay standing. So reaching up to the ceiling. When that arm gets stuck, I can't go any further. I'm going to rotate the bicep, the upper arm, turn my palm out, and then reach back and down, making as big a circle as I can. And just taking a few rounds of these nice big sweeps. Again, there might be a little bit of clicking in the shoulder, totally normal. If you do notice pain, either make the movement smaller or maybe skip this one out, but hopefully it feels pretty good. Just moving that right shoulder, right arm, breathing as you go. Last one on this side. And then slowly changing sides. So your left arm comes up alongside your ear. Reach up to the ceiling, lift and lengthen. You're going to start to reach that arm back behind you. When you get stuck, you can't go any further. Rotate through the upper arm. Turn your palm out to face away from you. Sweep back and down. And again, let's play with that a few times, breathing as you go. For some of you, if the shoulder's feeling really sticky, you're going to allow your chest and your trunk to turn with you, just to allow a little bit more movement, a little bit more looseness. For some of you who are familiar with this movement, or this feels kind of pretty open, we're going to explore keeping the chest squared. So rather than rotating, the center of the chest points forward. And last one. From here, moving into some neck movement. So we're just going to start by looking over to your left shoulder. Tuck your chin down and in like you're trying to look into your armpit. Circle your chin down to your chest. Look on over to your right armpit. And then go ahead and take your right ear to your right shoulder. Slowly circle up through center, maybe gently tipping the chin to the ceiling. Left ear to left shoulder, chin down, looking into your left armpit, circling down through center, chin to right armpit, right ear to right shoulder. And then let's reverse that. So looking down to the right, circle through center, looking over to the left, left ear to left shoulder. And last round, just kind of go through at your own pace, in your own way. Nice, gentle movement into the neck. This time as you come up to center, soften your knees a little bit. Drop your chin to your chest. Start to roll down through your spine, bone by bone by bone, letting your back round as you go. Drop your head and neck, dangle the arms. As you get to bottom, just take a moment to hang out. Take a breath. Slowly roll back up to stand, starting to stack up through the hips and the low back first. And then slowly coming all the way back up. Let's do that one more time at your own pace. For some of you, if you know that rounding your back doesn't feel great for you, you can take a moment and hinge forward, spine long, and just pause here for a couple breaths if that's a better version for you. Otherwise, rolling down, bone by bone by bone. Just feeling again how the spine is moving. And slowly roll all the way back up to stand. Head and neck come up last. Great. Okay, so let's put some of that together in a half sun salutation just to get a little bit more movement. comfortably apart. We're going to inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. Hinge at your hips, so spine stays long, back stays long, hands come to knees, thighs, or shins. From here, soft knees, fold in towards your thighs. Nice slow spinal roll up to stand. And again, inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, hinge forwards, kind of sticking your tail back behind you, nice long back. Again, for some of you, if you know rounding your back is not your favorite thing, you're going to hang out here. Otherwise, soft knees, round the spine, roll up. Last time, inhale, sweep those arms up, back nice and long. Hinge forward from your hips, sticking your tail back behind you. Either pausing long spine or soft knees, fold in. And wave all the way back up. And just taking a breath or two, standing tall in mountain. Coming back to that feeling of breath in the abdomen. From here, moving back into some lower body work. So we're going to come into our heel raises. If you want to have a wall or a countertop close to you, just for a little added support for balance, you're welcome to. Feet comfortably apart. I'm going to start to lift my heels off the floor, coming up onto my tippy toes, getting as tall as I can be, and then lowering back down. And as you try that a few times, just kind of again, waking up ankles, feet, toes, maybe a little bit of calf burn as you keep going. Seeing if it's possible to really push down into your big toes. So for a lot of us, we kind of tend to roll out through the ankles. See if we can almost hug the inner heels in. Really strong ankles as we come up and down. Let's try that a few more times. Breathing as you move. As you come up and down, imagining a string through the crown of your head, lifting you right up to the ceiling. So we're trying to avoid any kind of like swaying or swooping as we come. Last one. From here, walk your feet as close together as they will comfortably come. We're going to bend the knees, lightly place the hands on the outside of your thighs and knees, and just start to circle the knees around. And this can be a little bit conservative at first. So we're kind of thinking of driving the knees forward over the toes to one side, back, other side, and forward. So your feet might shift around a bit as you do this. If that feels okay, then starting to make the circles a little bit bigger, maybe taking your hands away. Again, just trying to get movement into all the joints of our body today, or at least as many as possible. And circle the other way if you haven't already. Breathing as you move. Last one or two. Good. Slowly stand yourself up. Maybe give your legs a little shake. From here, we're going to come back down to all fours. So you might take a spinal roll down. And then slowly just come on down onto your hands and your knees. We're just going to finish with a hip movement here. So from your hands and your knees, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. I'm going to push the floor away, hover my right knee off the floor, and then start to pull my right knee out to the side so my leg is kind of lifting up to the ceiling and lower back down. The best way I thought to describe this, it's not the most elegant, but you can think of a dog on a high broom. Kind of lifting that leg up and out to the side. As you take a couple more rounds, seeing if we can avoid leaning over to the left. So kind of there's a tendency to sink into that left side. Really stay grounded through both hands. Let's do one more, breathing as you go. And then slowly changing sides. So left knee hovers off the floor. I'm going to start to pull that outer left knee up towards the ceiling. Hopefully feeling a little bit of work through the side bum, the lateral head. Give that a few rounds, seeing if we can avoid sinking into the right side. And breathing as you go. Last one. Both knees on the floor. Go ahead and sink yourself back into child's pose resting. And take a few full breaths down into your abdomen. And then slowly finding your way back up onto hands and knees. We're going to come back onto our back to finish. Back onto our back. Oh dear. So coming down on the floor, supporting your head if needed. And then from here, coming into that lateral hip again with our figure four or resting pigeon. So crossing right ankle on top of left knee. Take a moment, gently press that right thigh away from you. For some of you, this might already be a good stretch and you want to stay here with your left foot on the floor. Or you can take one hand to each leg, use your leg strength, your hip strength to pull the legs towards you. Or you might even choose to weave that right hand through the window of your legs around the back of your left thigh. However, make sure your head is still on the floor. We're not straining the neck or the head to get into this. And then taking a couple full breaths here, maybe rocking a little bit side to side. Good. Last breath here. Slowly release your feet back down to the ground. Take a moment to change sides. Left ankle on top of right knee. Gently press the left thigh away from you so the two hip bones are level with each other. And then either resting here or actively drawing the legs towards you without your hands. Or last option is to weave your hands around the back of that right thigh. Gently hugging towards you, just looking for kind of a moderate stretch, someplace you can stay and breathe for a few moments. And then slowly release the legs back down. Take a moment to find a comfortable resting position. You might keep your feet on the floor. Some of you might want to come into Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, knees wide. So wherever you're most comfortable. I'm going to come up to sit, that's an option as well. So just take a moment to kind of land your body very briefly. Noticing how that feels, just to take a half hour, 30 minutes of kind of overall feel-good movement, hopefully. Taking 5 or 6 more steady, quiet breaths at your own pace. And if it feels relevant, also taking a moment to acknowledge that you were able to find or create this time for yourself, for movement, for self-care, for practice. If you have time and you want to stay longer on the floor, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, thank you so much